There's one thing I rarely find, especially on the internet, whenever I hear people talk about their photography and their journey in photography. Hi everyone, if you're new to this channel, my name is Wase. I'm an amateur landscape photographer and a full-time engineer. One of the biggest things I realized was that everyone's work-life balance is very different, especially when it comes to photography. Some people are amateur photographers like myself, other people are professional landscape photographers, meaning that they go out and take photos, they do workshops, they do a lot of other things, but their main primary source of income is their landscape photography. And this means that they might have different priorities when it comes to actually doing landscape photography. Some people might have families. A lot of photographers that I've seen online actually don't have very big families or don't really have family responsibilities to take care of. I think for most of us, we don't fit into one single mold, and I want to try my best to make sure landscape photography is accessible for me, as well as people like me who have to balance family, work, and all of our other obligations and interests with our love for photography. So in this video, I want to talk about how I manage my work as a software engineer, my family life, as well as my love for photography and other interests, and do so in a way that keeps me happy. I think one of the first things we have to realize though is that there is only a set amount of time that you have available to dedicate, and time is your most valuable asset, which means when it comes down to it, you will have to pick one thing over the other a lot of times, like not just up front, but also throughout every single day, because you'll have tiny decisions to make when it comes to what you want to actually do. And so the first step is to create a prioritization list for yourself. And this doesn't just mean writing down something. This means intentionally thinking about the things that make you happy, intentionally thinking about the things that don't make you necessarily happy, but you need to do because they're your responsibility. So for example, work is something that I do enjoy because I like what I do. But it's also very important because that's the primary source of income for me and my family. And if I had to pick between photography and work, sure, I might be able to make some exceptions here and there, but I do have to prefer work over photography just because that is a thing that is necessary for me and my life. And then balancing family and photography, where does that come in? Well, there are different ways that I try to manage my expectations for myself as well as with my family, which means that I have to be a lot more mindful in everything that I do, whether it's photography or going to the gym or just spending time with my family, because I want to be able to enjoy all those different things so that I can ensure that I value it appropriately when it comes to thinking about it in my head. I don't want to treat my family time as any less valuable than my photography time. There has to be a balance between the two. So for example, I can't be out every single day after work and coming home late at night just because I was out doing photography all the time. And other days where I feel like I haven't gone out for photography for a long time, then I will try to prioritize that over going to the gym, for example, even if it means skipping that day, because I know that I have to sacrifice somewhere. Because if I still want to make it home for dinner and spend time with the family, then I really can't be going out for photography and then going to the gym right after that. I need to prioritize and think of where I can make those sacrifices when I can. So for example, it was very foggy in the morning and I definitely had to go out because it's been so long since we've had fog. But that also means that I might not be able to go to the gym in the evening because I sacrificed some sleep for this. And so if, for example, if I end up taking a nap or if I want to go to bed early, then I want to be able to spend time with my family as well and not just go to the gym instead. And once you have that priority list set for yourself, you'll likely shuffle things back and forth, but the act of mindfully sitting down and thinking about this priority will at least ensure that you know what it is that you value, and so you can set aside time when you need to for those things. Now that I've set this priority list, I think the next thing to do to actually manage my photography with the rest of my life is to plan it out a lot more, especially because I'm doing a lot more local landscape photography. If I want to be able to go out in the mornings and go out at evenings, I need to make sure that when I do go out, I'm able to get to the location that I want to very quickly, and I'm not wasting any of the light that occurs at that time. What this means is when I do go out at any time of the day really, whenever I'm out and observing, I do take notes to make sure that I can refer back to them when I want to, and not just notes about the location, but notes about what type of conditions those locations might actually look good in. I actually created several videos about local landscape photography and planning for that. I'll link to that somewhere above. But what it really comes down to is building that system for planning, because you don't want to spend so much cognitive energy on thinking about where you will go when those conditions occur at the time of those conditions, right? Think about it similar to building habits. what you're trying to do is get away from that realm of doing something that you know is beneficial for you, but having to actively think about that decision. So for example, if you want to build a habit for exercising regularly, what you're trying to get to is a point where you don't even have to make that decision. Should I go to the gym? Should I go for a run? Actively, you have that habit that you will do that, and so your body and your mind are just accustomed to doing it, rather than you having to lift this heavy weight every single time, metaphorically, to actually decide to go to the gym or actually decide to go out for a run. But that system and that planning isn't just tied to local landscape photography. It comes in really handy when I want to go out and take photos on family trips. A lot of times on family trips, we might go to national parks. And what I want to do is to go out there and take amazing photos, because I know that I won't be able to go back to those locations very easily. And I think you can plan a lot, but I think at that point you also have to think about prioritization as well, and expectations with the family, like I mentioned before. Because in those instances, I have to ensure that I am enjoying myself with my photography, but I'm not taking away too much time from friends or families on the trip as well. This is a trip for them as well, not just for me, and so I want to spend time with them, but I also want to take those photos because that is something that's important to me. That is something that I value highly. And so, for example, when I went to Great Smoky Mountains with my friends, several times they would accompany me to take photos. They even helped me carry my equipment and were really okay with spending several hours just waiting for a sunset at a specific location. But they really didn't want to have to wake up for sunrise. And so what I did was I would just wake up early, go out, take photos, and come back. Obviously, this isn't very sustainable. If you're hiking throughout the day, you might be tired. And so I ended up actually doing that once out of maybe 3 or 4 nights that we were there. But those photos turned out gorgeous, and I'm really glad I was able to do that. But for example, when I went to the Everglades with my wife recently, I wanted to spend a lot of time with her, and I also wanted to wake up early for sunrise in the Everglades. But she didn't really want to do that. And we ended up compromising, and we actually entered the Everglades maybe an hour or two after sunrise, which wasn't the best for me, but the light was still pretty nice at that time. I knew that I wouldn't really be able to explore as much as I wanted to, and it was fine, really, because I knew that spending time with her was more important to me in that moment than going out earlier, taking photos, coming back, and then going out with her again. Because if I went out early, I knew she would want to come with me, but I knew that that isn't really what she wanted. So awkward situations, but oh well. I did end up enjoying that family trip a lot, and I took great images, and I switched it up a little bit for my photography just so that I wasn't focusing on the golden hour times anyways, and so it worked out pretty well overall. With prioritization and planning, I would say what comes next is even more important, which is persistence. I feel like I'm guilty of this thing where if I determine that I can't actively create a routine of doing that thing regularly, then I might as well not do it at all. And I think this stems from this sense of needing to create perfection. But I think persistence is a lot more important than perfection. What matters for this balance between family, work, and photography and everything else is that I'm persistent about the things that I enjoy and value. If I want to actually be able to do the things that I enjoy, then I have to spend a dedicated effort to making those things happen. This means that if I want to do photography around work, then I have to be able to wake up early, and I have to be able to create those habits of waking up early when I need to. Obviously, I don't do that every single day, but I do have a sense of value for photography, which I can then channel into my motivation and my willingness to wake up early when I need to go out and take photos. And that persistence is what will actually create those systems, from just thinking about it in your head to using your Photos app with Google Earth to Google Map to note-taking app, and building that all together to make sure that you manage your work, you spend time with your family, and you're also able to go out and take beautiful photos in your local landscapes. But even after all of that, I think for the last stage, it's important to think about perspective. My perspective on the system and the balance that I've created managing all those different things. Right now, my family responsibilities aren't that huge. Down the line, when we hopefully have kids, I know that I will have to make a drastic change in what I prioritize then. I would need to dedicate a lot more time to family rather than to other things that I do. And I know that I might not be able to take it off of work, so I will have to pick and choose from my other interests, including photography. I know for a lot of people, once they have kids, they start to reduce the amount of time they actually spend going outside and taking photos. And I know that that will happen to me as well. And that's why I'm open to changing my perspective on the balance that I have, and open to changing what I think I enjoy in photography. I know when that happens, I might end up taking a lot more pictures of people rather than of landscape. Similarly, if I move to a location which doesn't have a lot of nature around it, but has a lot of buildings, somewhere like New York City, or even if it's smaller, I know I will have to change my perspective on what I actually enjoy in photography. Thankfully, I've been able to explore a lot of different photography recently and have realized that it's not just landscape that I enjoy, and landscape for me doesn't really just mean natural landscapes. It really refers to the landscape of the area that you're living in, whether it's cities or in the mountains, etc. So I know that I do enjoy taking those photos, and I will be able to change my perspective to taking photos that I enjoy there. Obviously, I still want to be able to do natural landscapes as well, and that might be a lot more limited. I have to be open to the idea of changing my perspective on what I enjoy and what I think landscape photography or photography in general means to me. And if you are interested in learning a little bit more about how I manage my work and photography, check out this video that I made about photography before work and how I kind of manage that as well. And if you enjoyed this video, please remember to leave a thumbs up and subscribe to this channel if you haven't already. And if you have thoughts about managing your life and managing your life with photography, remember to leave it in the comments down below. All right, I'll see you next time. Bye.